Hello, welcome to Mr. Brand's 5th grade everyday math review. In this video, we're going over lesson 6.3, which is converting measurements in the metric system. And the metric system is based on powers of 10, so 10, 100, and 1000. And I've got a chart here to look at, and we're going to talk about this level right here first. And this level kind of represents our one whole. And it doesn't matter whether we're talking about meters, liters, or grams. It's always our starting point, one whole. So up here we've got the kilogram. So 1 kilogram equals 1,000 grams. 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams. Then when we come down here and for the centa, and this time I'm going to use meters, 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. I'm going to use meters again. 1 meter equals 1,000 millimeters. The first portion of your home link has in and out chart that you have to figure out, an in and out table. And we have centimeters going in and meters coming out. And they give us, sorry, my cat just jumped up here. They give us, in this case, 200 centimeters and 2 meters come out. On your home link, they give you the rule, but I want to figure out the rule with you right now. So we know that 100 centimeters is the same as 1 meter. So 200 centimeters and 2 meters is the same amount. It's just different size of pieces that you're measuring with. So when we go from 100 to 1, the actual number gets smaller. So as we go up the chart, we're going to do some dividing. And each level that we move, that's dividing by 10. So it'll be dividing by 10, dividing by 10. Let me draw that in. So that would be dividing by 10. And then that would be dividing by 10. So 10 and 10, 10 tens is 100. So it's going to be dividing by 100. So our rule is going to be dividing by 100 or dividing by 10 to the second power. So there's a number of ways that we can do that, but in the last video we talked about sliding the decimal spot, sliding the decimal point. So for 1,246, we have to divide that by 10 to the second to figure out how many meters that is going to be. So all numbers have a decimal at the end, all whole numbers, the decimals at the end. When we divide, we are moving the decimal one place to the left. So divided by 10 and then divided by 100 would put the decimal point right there. So 1,246 centimeters is the same as 12 and 46 meters. Okay, now if we go with 8 centimeters, and again we're going to meters, so that's going to be 8 divided by 10 to the second. Our decimal point for a whole number is at the end. Moving it once is dividing by 10. Moving it twice is dividing it by 10 again. We have an empty space here, so we're going to put a 0. So 8 centimeters is equal to, or is the same as, 8 hundredths. Okay, now they give us how many meters there are. We have to know how many centimeters that will be. So if we come back over here to the chart, it's going to be just the opposite this time. 1 meter is the same as 100 centimeters. It gets bigger. So as we go down the chart, it's going to be times 10 for each section. So times 10 times 10 is going to be times 100, or times 10 to the second power. So it's just the opposite of what we did here. So we have to multiply now instead of divide. So some of you might be able to do this in your head. Some of you might want to use the, moving the decimal point. I'm going to move the decimal point for this one. So 72, and our decimal points at the end, we're going to multiply that by 10 squared, or by 100. So when we're multiplying, it goes to the right, one spot times 10 times 10. So our decimal point will be there. There's two spaces, so we're going to fill those in with zeros. So 72 meters is the same as 7,200 centimeters. And for our last one, we have 4/10 of a meter. So 4/10 of a meter. We're going to centimeters, so we have to multiply again by 10 squared, and it goes to the right. So times 10 times 10, our decimal point will end up there. We can put a 0 to fill in our spot. So 4/10 meters is the same as 40 centimeters. The next section of the home link is a story problem. And I'm not going to write a story problem out, but I'm going to write down the measurements. So there's a student getting ready for baseball practice after school, and in the bag that in their baseball bag, they have one baseball, and that baseball weighs 150 grams. They have one bat, and that bat weighs 850 grams. And then they brought two gloves with them to school, and the gloves together weigh 1 and 222 thousandths kilograms. So the question that I want to know is, how many total grams are there? How many total grams? So in order to figure this out, we're going to have to do some converting. And since we're looking for grams, we have to convert this to grams. So one gram, or excuse me, 1 kilogram is the same as 1,000 grams. So as we're going down this chart, this would be times 10 times 10 and times 10. So 10 times 10 times 10 is times 1,000, or times 10 to the third. Our starting point is 1 and 222 thousandths kilograms. And we need to multiply that by 10 to the third. So we can think about this with estimating, like we did in the previous video. So our greatest place value is 1. 1 times 1,000 is 1,000. So what's the closest, using these digits, that I can get to 1,000? Well, it would be 1,000 has 4 digits. This one has 4 digits, so it would be 1,222 grams. I could also do the same thing by moving the decimal point. So since we're multiplying, we're moving it to the right. So moving it to the right, one spot would be times 10. Times 10 is 100. Times 10 is 1,000. And our decimal point would end up at the end, and which is the same for both. So the two gloves weigh 1,222 grams. The baseball weighs, well, let's do the bat first. The bat weighs 850 grams, and the baseball weighs 150 grams. So if we added all those together, this would be 2, 2 tens plus 5 tens is 7 tens, plus 5 tens is 12 tens. 100 plus 200 is 300, plus 800 is 1100, plus 100 is 1200, and then 100 plus, or excuse me, 1000 plus 1000 is 2000. So 2222 is the total number of grams that are in the bag. For our practice problem, we have some fraction subtraction. And our first problem is going to be 2/3 subtract 1/4. Our first step is to make sure we have common denominators. We have to find equivalent fractions. And so I'm going to start by finding the least common multiple. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. I'm going to stop there for now. Let's try 4. So 4, 8, 12. And I can stop there because 12 and 12 are the same. So I'm going to use 12 for my equivalent fraction. And to find equivalent fractions, we have to multiply both the numerator and denominator by the same number. So for 2/3, 3 times 4 is 12. So if we do 3 times 4, we have to do 2 times 4, which is going to be 8. So 2/3 is equivalent to 8/12. For 1/4, I know that 4 times 3 is 12. So I have to do 1 times 3, which is 3. 8/12 subtract 3/12 is going to be 5/12. So the answer for our first example is 5/12. Our next sample problem is going to be a mixed number, and looking at the fraction portion of the mixed number, let's start by finding a common denominator, and I'm going to find the multiples of 5 and 10. So for 5, I've got 5, 10, and I can stop there because 10 and 10 are the same. So I'm going to start in the bottom this time because since we have 10 and the 10, we can just move our 3 over. For our top here, 5 times 2 is 10. So if I do 5 times 2 is 10, I have to do 1 times 2 is 2. Now I have 2/10 subtract 3/10. Well, I can't do 2/10 subtract 3/10 without having a negative number. So I have to borrow from the 3, or excuse me, I have to borrow from the 4. That's going to become a 3. I'm going to switch colors for this next part here. Now I have to take the 1 from this side and I have to add it to this side, but I have to add it as a fraction. Since my denominator is 10 here, the fraction that's equivalent to 1 that I'm going to add on this side is 10/10. So 2/10 plus 10/10 equals 12/10. From 12/10, I'm going to subtract 3/10, or 3/10 from here. 12/10 subtract 3/10 is 9/10. 3 subtract 2 is 1. So I'm going to put our 1 and our 9/10 together, and I end up with the fraction 1 and 9/10. Thanks for sticking through this video. I know it was a long one, and I hope you're able to join us in future videos.